Why would you support Trump? Why would you have strong feelings about what happened to him in New York? Tell us your view.
Well, I tell you what, I am proud to stand with my fellow brothers and sisters in the trucking industry. They are among President Trump's strongest supporters. And we, along with other MAGA Patriot Americans, have been watching how this government has been persecuting President Trump. And we are fed up with it. Americans and truckers primarily are standing up and saying we have had enough. And this boycotts have been very effective in the past. And I support this boycott, and hopefully this will just be the beginning. I would support boycotts of other blue cities. And this is our way of peacefully protesting and hopefully bringing President Trump back to the White House.
The Bud Lighting of New York by truckers across the country is gaining huge momentum, despite the fact that the legacy media is refusing to cover it or doing their best to downplay it. We're going to see the groundswell of videos getting posted by the hour by ultra MAGA truckers who are officially boycotting New York and their vile anti-Trump antics. Also, we got the latest on the South Carolina primaries scheduled for tomorrow. How Nikki Haley, the suicide bomber of the GOP, she's going to get completely humiliated, crushed in her own home state. And finally, we're going to see how the legacy media continues to go extinct as the ultra-leftist Vice News officially begins shuttering its windows and locking its doors for good. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We've got a jam-packed show today. As I'm sure you know, we've got tons that we can talk about, and I want to hear what you have to say. That's what this platform is for, to inform you and for you to inform us about what you think about what's going on in this crazy world. Unfortunately, as many of you know, our super chats have been disabled. We were demonetized several weeks back. But gang, you have come to our rescue. Literally thousands of you have stepped up and made the courageous decision to join our Insiders Club, where we have direct access to one another that can never, ever be interrupted by big tech overlords. And so today you can still ask me your questions. I'll answer them, each and every one of them on the live stream. But instead of super chats, just click on the link below, sign up for Insiders Club, and you can ask me your questions via the Insiders Club platform. And again, as always, I just want to return the favor here. Many of you are so kind and generous to graciously give us 10, 15, 20, 50 bucks in the super chats whenever you ask your questions. Can't thank you enough for that generosity. That is heartfelt. But today, sign up for our Insiders Club. You can ask me all the questions you want for the entire month for just $5, just a fraction of the cost that you normally extend to me and your generosity. It's the least I can do to show my appreciation for all that you've done for us. So click on that link below right now. Join our Insiders Club. Send me your questions, and it would be my honor to answer them on this live stream right now. And as always, gang, from the bottom of my heart, you are my heroes. I love you. Thank you so much for the way you've supported this channel during this time. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The trucker boycott of New York City continues to gain momentum throughout the country. Tucker Carlson just interviewed a fellow by the name of Trucker Jake, who's reporting that he's encountering a number of truckers who are openly refusing to load hauls into New York City. And that's being corroborated by the trucker who got the whole ball rolling several days back in the first place. And that's this awesome guy, Chicago Ray. Here's his latest update.
It's your old pal, Chicago Ray. I'm here with one of my trucker friends here at Just Love Truck Stop. All right, and I asked him the question, what's he think about what's going on in New York? And, I'll let him answer what his response was. I don't want to put words in his mouth, okay? So here we go. Here's one of my brothers here.
Yes. My thing about it is I think we should all stay out of New York at the moment. I've been turning down every load that is offered to me going towards New York just to stay away from there to support Trump.
So This is how to, I mean, everybody's got their own man here. Everybody's doing their own thing. Whatever they say, I'm just telling you what they're saying. So this is one of my brothers here. Okay. Who do we got in 2024, my friend?
We got Trump all the way.
We got Trump, baby.
Trump all the way.
2024, MAGA, all the way.
All the way.
All right, buddy.
Truckers for Trump.
Truckers for Trump, man. All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy,
All right, man.
Thank you.
Truckers for Trump. I'm sorry, gang. I'm seriously. How can you not be fired up and optimistic about the future with MAGA patriots like that out there? I mean, how can anybody possibly wallow in despairing, pessimistic misery when you got ultra MAGA patriots like that out there? I mean, gang, these are the guys. They're so awesome. Remember, these are the guys who are stocking our shelves at the supermarkets. These are the guys who are delivering medical supplies, food, raw materials, without which we would not be a functioning country. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of them out there. They're all major MAGA truckers. I love this guy, Chicago Ray. I've been watching all his updates over the past week. He's a dude. If you're out there watching, God bless you, man. Seriously, that's heartfelt. God bless you. But he's not alone. Here's another trucker giving a whole list of reasons why he won't go near New York City.
Hey guys, it's a beautiful day here in East Tennessee. February 21st, Wednesday. Still not going to New York City. Now, regardless what you liblickers think, this is a business decision. New York City is not trucker friendly. Not at all. And until you guys make it trucker friendly, why should we come? There's many of us out here that haven't been going to New York City for years. And we probably won't come to New York City until it becomes trucker friendly. Until you fix your tolls and lower them, until you fix your highways, until you fix the crime. I mean, you guys are protesting, shutting down bridges, leaving us in traffic for 10, 12 hours at a time with the potential of our vehicles being vandalized. Who wants to be a part of that? I could be strolling across any other interstate in the country safely and delivering loads to people that appreciate it. So until New York City becomes trucker friendly, count me out.
I love that, liblickers. Let me tell you something, all you liblickers. I've never heard that, though. I love it. And we're getting video after video after video after video. These truckers saying precisely the same thing. Take a look.
Hey everybody, it's Trucker Mark here. I know you guys heard about the boycott against New York City, but now I haul refrigerated groceries, and it's a big 53-foot trailer. It's like a rolling refrigerator is what it is. And what I've got here is a load of groceries. Milk, meat, dairy, yogurt, all kinds of food. Guess where it's not going? You got it. Definitely not going to New York City. So I want to encourage all my truck driving buddies out there to make your own videos about not going to New York City. Hashtag not delivering to New York. God bless America.
God bless America. Indeed. And God bless you, man. Seriously, from all of us here, God bless you. These guys are the real deal. I just love them so much. You want to see more? You like these? You like this montage? You want to see more of your fellow patriots rising up, standing up to the ridiculous lawfare that's literally urinating on our Constitution? Here's one more.
Good morning, Trucker here. If you could all pray for me a little bit. I got a touch of that trucker flu. I didn't get a vaccine or 250 boosters, so I'm all of a sudden not feeling very well, which means I guess I should stay out of New York because I don't want to get them sick. And maybe if they just get one more booster, they'll be all right. But I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk it. I don't want that to be on me. So I'll just stay out of New York for a while. Really, it's for their safety. Have a good day.
Yeah. You smell that? I think that's called sarcasm. These are just so good. This is, gang, thank you for blessing me with this job, because this is what I get to do. I get to wake up each morning and watch guys like this and assemble them and put them together for you. They're amazing, just being in contact with these kind of patriots. We got to do one more. Let's do one last one.
Hey, this is to all you window-licking moron liberals. You don't know shit about the trucking industry. I'm an independent truck driver. There are 350,000 drivers like myself that if we don't want to go somewhere, we don't go there. We don't have any bosses, no unions. You can't f with our license like you guys keep saying you want to do. Nothing. It's not illegal to say f you. Eat it, you f***ing idiots. We don't want to go to New York. We won't go to New York. Ask Colorado, you f***ing morons. Colorado f***ed around and found out real f***ing quick the truck drivers actually run this country. F*** you.
It's not illegal to say F you. I love it. These guys, I think there was, again, liblickers. I love it. I love this phrase, liblickers. I'm going to use this from now on. It's my new favorite word. Now, what you heard earlier in the Tucker Carlson interview with Trucker Jake was a very real threat that this boycott could indeed expand to other blue states as well. Other blue, I should say, cities dominated by Democrats who are doing everything they possibly can to undermine the rule of law and basically overthrow our constitutional republic. We talk about it all the time. It's called anarcho-tyranny. And virtually every city in the nation is implementing it. The Biden administration's living by it. Anarcho-tyranny is when you find a cop writing you $100 or a $500 ticket because you're 10 seconds over the parking meter. All the while, there's a guy 10 feet away, a homeless guy, taking a crap on the side of the road, shooting himself with heroin, and the cop leaves him alone. All right, God bless cops, but they're put under orders by these insane woke city councils, if they haven't already been defunded, of course, to basically look away from the criminal who is now the victim and look towards the law abider who is now the perpetuator of a racist system. So we're all living in some way, shape, or form under this anarcho-tyrannous system that left-wing liberals, woke Democrats are trying to implement in our nation, and in the process destroying the rule of law and our constitutional republic. And these truckers are saying we've had it. And there's a very real possibility that New York City is just going to be the beginning of these mass blockades as per boycotts. We can actually visually see how what Trucker Jake had said earlier on to Tucker, we could see how it is a very serious threat. We've talked about this before in this channel. It's hugely important to understand sort of the lay of the land of how red versus blue culture wars are heating up. Take a look at these two maps. Now, as you can see in both maps, the red country, the conservative country, is overwhelming in terms of landmass there. This is based on a study by the Brookings Institute. And what they did is they compared the way the red-blue map looked back in 2008 to the way it looked in 2018. So just a 10-year separation. What they found was back in 2008, Democrat voting districts, as you can see in the map to the left, it comprised basically 39% of U.S. land area as compared to the 61% land expanse of Republican districts. So back in 2008, the ratio between red districts and blue districts in terms of land area, in terms of geography, was basically 60-40. Okay, 60% Republican, 40% Democrat, 6% red, 40% blue. But look at the ratio in 2018. Look at how dramatic it changes. In just 10 years, Republicans now dominate 80% 80% of the nation's landmass. 80 freaking percent. Democrat voting districts have imploded just 20% of the nation's landmass. Democrat regions have become almost entirely consigned to urban coastal metropolitan areas surrounded by a massive sea of red regions. And so obviously these little blue blotches surrounded by the sea of red, the sea of MAGA country, could easily not only be besieged, literally, by hundreds of thousands of striking truckers if American truckers decided to organize something akin to the Freedom Convoy that shut down Ottawa in Canada, or what we're seeing now with the massive farmers' revolt all throughout Europe, but particularly in Brussels at the EU. But not only could truckers effectively cut off the supply chain to all of these vulnerable blue cities, they themselves, the truckers and MAGA country, instead, by contrast, would be thoroughly provided for because our red regions have all the natural resources. Red regions have all the commodities they need for the food and fuel necessary for social stability. Blue regions, on the other hand, being primarily urban and cosmopolitan, are totally dependent on supply chains for virtually all of their daily resources. But those supply chains are ultimately controlled by pro-Trump MAGA truckers. So this is really serious stuff, especially given the growing polarization between 80% red America and 20% blue America. All right, we got to take a break here. We got the latest on the South Carolina primary. Let's just say, a looming bloodbath for Nikki Haley doesn't even begin to describe it. And we got Vice News, the ultra-leftist Vice News, which was once a multi-billion-dollar company just a couple of years back, collapsing. All that and more on our live stream Friday. Now, gang, if you're regular to this channel, then you know how I feel about our government and our financial system. It's no secret that I'm a big believer in diversifying your money with precious metals like gold and silver. But when it comes to buying precious metals, you need the right company in your corner. And that's why we partnered with the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco, because, gang, reputation matters. Goldco is a 6-time Inc. 5000 winner, 6-time. They were the 2022 Company of the Year. They've helped people like you and me place over, get this, $2 billion in gold and silver. That's billion with a B. And right now, they're offering my supporters up to $10,000 in bonus silver when opening up a qualified IRA account. This is your opportunity to protect yourself from our out-of-control, corrupt government. So don't pass it up. Click on that link below and take action today.
Final poll, guys. Who is still undecided in this diner? Undecided? Who's going for Nikki Haley in the diner? And who's going for former President Donald Trump? Okay, guys. I'll send it back to you guys in New York.
Well, I wonder who's going to win tomorrow. What do you even say to that? When have you ever seen politics even remotely resemble something? And that was Fox News. Fox. Oh, poor little Fox, stupid Murdoch company. Yeah, the South Carolina primaries tomorrow. And as you can see, despite the best efforts by the dying, decaying, gasping legacy media to prop up dying, decaying, gasping Nikki Haley, all indications are that she's going to get absolutely crushed. And this is the key, in her own home state. The latest USA Suffolk poll has her down 30 points in her own backyard. 30 points in a two-person right. Gang, you just have to understand, just politically speaking, how dire that is. No one recovers from that. Just ask Marco Rubio, right? Marco Rubio dropped out the day after he lost the primaries in his own state of Florida back in 2016. This is why DeSantis dropped out. DeSantis read the tea leaves, and he knew there was simply no coming back from losing your own state. It was going to get crushed in Florida. There was no coming back for Rubio. Rich Barris of the People's Pundit was talking about this the other day. There's a reason why Rubio isn't running this time around. It's there's a reason why his name hasn't even been floated as a viable candidate in 8 years. It's because once you've been humiliated and losing your own state, you're permanently damaged goods. No donor worth their salt goes near you after that. If you can't win in your own backyard, how on earth are you going to win in Wisconsin and Iowa and Michigan and Pennsylvania? So, that's what killed Rick Santorum back in 2012. He lost his own senatorial reelection by a landslide in his own state. There was no way he was going to win the presidential nomination. But all that said, gang, and this is really key to understand what's going on as we march forward. It's different for Nikki Haley. Those laws of the universe, as it were, don't apply for Nikki Haley. Because those laws of the universe, of donors running away from you once you lose your own home state, that only applies if the donors that are funding your campaign belong to the same party that you purport to belong to. In other words, a Republican who just lost her own state couldn't even conceivably continue on in the race if her donors were Republicans. That's what you have to get here. That's the key. Right? When all is said and done, Nikki Haley, right now as we speak, you've got to get this. And for those 30% of Republicans, well, for all I know, it's just AstroTurf. Those are all just left-leaning Democrats who got registered as Republicans, like Nikki Haley tried in New Hampshire. But when all said and done, anyone who still has even the remotest support for Nikki Haley, right now, as we speak, Nikki Haley is doing the bidding of Democrats, and most especially Democrat donors. She is dutifully fulfilling her job description as a deliberate disruptor of the GOP, or as one pundit put it, she's basically the suicide bomber of the GOP right now. Make no mistake, again, just to understand what's happening here, all Nikki Haley is doing right now is she is trying to damage President Trump's prospects, this is key, in the general election. This has got nothing to do with the primaries. Nothing. She's not trying to damage him politically in the primaries so that she might have a shot. She has no shot. Zippo. Nada. There is literally no conceivable path within any expansive definition of reality whatsoever for her to get the nomination. None. Zippo. Nada. Her primary campaign, from a political strategic vantage point in securing a nomination, is the literal definition of a joke, a bad one. She is not in this to win a primary. She's not being funded to win a primary. She's not making millions to win a primary. Her only role in this, make no mistake, gang, and you got to get this, Nikki Haley's only role is to try to damage Trump in the general election against Biden. Right now, as we speak, Nikki Haley is literally no different in any way, shape, or form than Nancy Pelosi. She's Nancy Nikki. They both have the same goal. They both have the same aspiration, and that's to do everything they possibly can to make sure that number 45 does not become number 47. How any Republican worth there's, just leave the party at this point if you support Nikki Haley, because you are supporting Nancy Pelosi. F you. I'm just going to flat out and say it, right? It's not illegal for me to say F you. F you. We're done with you. You support Nikki Haley, you are supporting Nancy Pelosi, and you have no business being in this party. But to add insult to injury to Nikki and Nancy, it's not working. If anything, it only seems to be backfiring. The latest Harvard-Harris poll is Trump now leading Biden by a whopping 9 points. Trump's lead over Biden just keeps growing. The latest Rasmussen poll has Trump up by 6. As we've been seeing in the number of town halls that Trump has been doing of late, he's absolutely crushing it, gang. Did you see that town hall? Was it just the other night in South Carolina? Trump 2.0 is sharp. He's on point. He's funny. He's relaxed. He's laid back. He's crushing it, right? He had that beautiful phrase. Are you, when asked, are you going to take revenge? They're saying, when you become president again, you're going to take revenge on your enemies. And what was his answer? It was brilliant. My revenge, my only revenge is success. My revenge will be success. I will succeed where they fail. That'll be my revenge. That'll be our revenge. Biden's just imploding. Everyone sees it. He could barely walk. I pulled a Biden today. I was walking up my steps, getting ready for today, and I said, I just Bidened. I Bidened up my steps. Yes, I think we need to turn it into a verb. Biden's imploding. Everyone sees it. And if we're honest, let's be brutally honest, so does Hillary Haley. Hillary Haley sees it too. She sees it. I think that's why she's becoming so vicious and vindictive at this point. Just makes what she's doing all the more disgusting. Getting rich off of donors who are planting her to try to damage Trump in the general election. She should be sanctioned. I mean, again, if we actually had a real RNC chairperson, not this fake Ronna McDaniel, controlled opposition. If we had a real party chairman, Nikki Haley would have been sanctioned in every way imaginable. The RNC would have immediately denounced. I think they would have pushed her out of the party and declared Trump the default winner of the nomination. That would go, obviously, a long way to ending this absurdity once and for all. Now, of course, primary voters are doing just that. We don't need McDonald. We don't need the adults in D.C. or the RNC. Voters are taking care of that. That's the good news, as you just saw. Even Fox News, they were all in. The Murdoch News Network that fired Tucker for reasons we still don't know, and he doesn't know, that they fired the number one by far cable news reporter on television. That Fox News, that Rupert Murdoch, they supported DeSantis. I mean, it was embarrassing. There was not a single bad report on DeSantis for months. And then when they found that he wasn't going to cross the finish line, then they went all in on Nikki Haley, the warmonger Haley, right? Because Fox News is all about that stuff. But anyway, even they, as you just saw, they had to admit that Trump is absolutely crushing Haley in the primaries. Again, this is in her own state. She's losing by 30 points in a two-way matchup in her own home state. I mean, that's beyond embarrassing. We have not seen political implosion like that. And you know what else is embarrassing? It's the dying legacy media, and that's what we've got coming up next. You won't believe the latest Hindenburg disaster to come crashing down in the legacy media. Gang, if you're just joining us, if you want to ask a question because YouTube has demonetized our channel, just click on the link below. Join our Insiders Club. Ask me your questions through that platform. Just $5 a month. Just $5 a month. Ask me all you like, and I will answer them here on this channel, on this live stream right now. Also, gang, this is important. If you have not yet secured the deed to your home, you need to click on that link below right now and protect yourself and your loved ones. This was something fascinating I found several months back in my own life. I was shocked when I found out how easy it is to access the deed to my house. And not just access it, change it. The deed to our homes is the only document that proves we own them. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of the home, take tons of loans out using your own home's equity, and then stick you with all the debt. I know I interviewed one of the guys who made millions doing that. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now. Use promo code Turley Talks. And all you got to do is just enter your address, for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. That's a $100 value, absolutely and totally free with my promo code Turley Talks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done, do what countless patrons have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. All right, gang. Finally, now the ultra leftist Vice News looks like it is officially no more. It's being widely reported that the media company has announced that it will be cutting several hundred jobs in the next week. And astonishingly, it will discontinue publishing its far left content on its own website, vice.com. I kid you not. Vice is apparently halting the publishing of content on its own website. Instead, they're defaulting, this is the reports, they're defaulting more to their social media channels in the hopes that people will actually see their content. In other words, they're admitting no one's coming to their site anymore. No one's coming to their site. So Vice is hoping that, well, maybe Facebook will save us. Or maybe our posts on Instagram. More people will see us on Instagram than are going to visit our website. I mean, Vice is absolutely collapsing. Now, a few months back, the New York Times broke the story that the ultra-leftist Vice News was officially filing for bankruptcy. And it really was a bit of a shocker. Vice was once valued at over $5 billion just a few years ago. Yes, that's billion with a B. But alas, it wasn't meant to continue. Some weeks back, the Wall Street Journal reported that Vice News World was closing. But at the same time, there was no indication that the Vice News itself would be going bankrupt. Their flagship Vice News Tonight was also canceled. So there were a lot of red flags, a lot of warning signs. And as you can see, it does turn out that they were all together an overall indication that Vice itself was collapsing. But of course, they're hardly alone. Vice News' collapse comes on the heels of the recent announcement that the ultra-left BuzzFeed News is permanently closing its doors. And around the same time, the Washington Post, you know, the paper with the pathetic "democracy dies in darkness" slogan, well, they announced that they had officially lost 500,000 readers over the course of the last 2 years. And it's all just par for the course of the legacy media as a whole. It's not just Vice. It's not just BuzzFeed. It's not just the Washington Post. Over 2,000 newspapers have folded over the last 15 years. Gang, let that number hit you. 2,000. CNN's audience, they've fallen 90% in the last 2 years. 90%. They literally had to sell off their iconic CNN building in Atlanta. I mean, you probably heard this. They've actually moved back to their original location when they first started. Talk about downsizing. Look, when all's said and done, you know this. The legacy media really is imploded. Gang, this is why this channel is dedicated to awakening you to the reality that we're not winning. In many respects, we've already won. A new conservative age is baked into the cake, and they're doing everything they possibly can to try to prevent it from happening. But there's nothing that the ultra-left powers that be, the ruling political class, the elite can do about it. It's baked into the cake of the way the whole of the global social order is transforming and changing. There's nothing they can do about it. And the legacy media proves it. It's dying, decaying status. Remember, the legacy media came out of an older social order, which is itself dying. The reason why the legacy media is dying is because that old social order is dying. It came out of something called mass society. It's a term that scholars use for the kind of social order that arose in the 19th and 20th centuries. And it gave rise to the big, massive urban cities like New York, Chicago, LA. Remember, at the beginning of the 19th century, 90% of Americans lived in rural areas, only about 10% in urban. At the end of the 19th century, it inverted, it flipped. 90% were now urban. So that's where you get New York Times, right? Chicago Tribune, LA Times, Washington Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, my Baltimore Sun. All the big newspapers are urban, cosmopolitan, liberal newspapers. It's because they're inextricably linked to a social order that lasted about 200 years called mass society. Gang, mass society's dead. Mass society's been replaced. It's been replaced with what scholars call the network society. We talk about this a lot on this channel. You should be experts on it if you're a regular. And if you're not a regular, make sure to smash that bell and subscribe button. But a network society is a social order that's not connected and structured around urban areas. Instead, it's connected and structured around the internet. And what that means now, just as we're experiencing right now, what that means is we are no longer relating to each other by virtue of proximity to one another. So if I wanted to make it into the country music scene, I had to move out to Nashville. If I wanted to make it into finance, I had to move out to New York and Wall Street. If I wanted to make it in the gambling industry, I have to move out to Vegas or Atlantic City back in the day. We're no longer related to one another by virtue of proximity. And therefore, we're no longer related to each other by virtue of these mass conglomerate centers like cities and cosmopolitan areas for our jobs and our careers. No. Remote work is now the new norm. We no longer need to rely on proximity in order to get our jobs done. We can live pretty much anywhere we want, because we're now relate to one another, not by virtue of proximity, but by virtue of digital networks, particularly the internet. And what that means is that the very media that was built on top of this old mass society, that very media is crumbling right along with the mass society norms. We no longer need to rely on big media conglomerates to disseminate news and information to us. We have instant access to it via digital information. We're now the news. We're the news today. We are. Everyone with a smartphone is now a cameraman. Everyone with a social media platform is a commentator. When's the last time you've seen, one of the satellite trucks, the old satellite trucks that would show up like in Die Hard to try to cover a breaking news story, whether the reporter's listening to the police radar going, oh wait, I think we've got something breaking here. Today, by the time they showed up, you would have already had probably 10,000 people with their phones out filming what was going on. Everyone with a smartphone is a cameraman. Everyone with a social media platform is a commentator. They wouldn't have just filmed it. They would have already loaded up. The media is constantly playing catch up. We are the news now. And the legacy media is going the way of the Jurassic era. And Vice News is but the latest in that ongoing and inevitable demise. Over to you, gang. Over to you as Josh, our moderator, puts together your questions. Remember, if you want to ask a question because YouTube has demonetized our channel, just click on the link below. Join our Insiders Club and ask me your questions through that platform. It's just $5. You can ask me as many questions as you like. Also, we got an important word from one of our sponsors. Not working. All right. We're being told it's not working. All right. Then we're just going to go straight into it. What do you got, Josh, for me? Give me some questions. Charles, good to hear from you. Steve, why is everyone talking about DeSantis VP? The 12th Amendment states an elector cannot vote for a president or vice president. They're both from the elector state. Do they think Trump is going to move, or DeSantis is going to move, or Trump will throw away 30 electoral votes? Check it. No, he's not going to. I mean, obviously he's going to win. He's going to win Florida. He's going to win Ohio. And ever since, I believe, 1860, whoever wins Florida and Ohio wins the whole election. There were only two exceptions, 1960 and 2020. Wonder why. So, no, I don't think you have to worry about that. Yeah, we'll have to see. I've heard that, Charles, and I've just not done the study I need to be able to give you a good answer on that. I just don't know. I don't know. I've heard different opinions that Trump is registered to vote in New York, so as long as they're registered differently, or that the 12th Amendment does not say exactly that, or again, it's just. But right now, The big thing with DeSantis, my concern with DeSantis, and again, Rich Barris was talking about this the other day. We've long been talking about this. Is Trump has to find a VP that the deep state and the ruling establishment is more afraid of than him. Because if they find a VP that's Pence-like, then they're going to you're going to have a third impeachment. They're going to do everything they possibly can to get rid of Trump and put in their control, their Manchurian candidate in there. So DeSantis is way too friendly with the establishment, way too friendly. Again, he, as governor, brilliant, but as a national leader right now, I don't buy it. Missy, what do you think really caused the huge cell phone outage yesterday? Testing a hack for later use. Yeah, I don't know. I was actually talking to somebody yesterday whose phone was out the whole day. He had to check to see if he was updating all his payments and the like. That he's in Tennessee. I don't know. I don't know what was behind that. I heard a solar flare from the sun. I don't know. I have no idea. So I don't put anything past the demons in Davos, the bullies in Brussels, the dolts in DC. I don't put any. Again, a lot of people look towards Beijing. I don't think Beijing is our issue. Honestly, I don't think Beijing's our problem. I think our problem's right here in Washington, D.C. Dave, how does the CCP incorporate free market principles in their planning? Wow. Okay. By redefining free market. That's basically what it is. Here's the best explanation I've heard. Basically, the CCP is one big YouTube. Think of it that way. It's one big social media platform. And if you play by the rules, you can make tons of money. You can look at what people are doing on their Amazon businesses. You can make so much money, it's ridiculous. And that's what your typical 23-year-old Shanghai or Beijing resident is thinking right now. They all believe they're going to be gazillionaires by the time they're 30. Because they know they can go on the state-run apparatus, economic apparatus, social media apparatus, and the like, and make tons and tons and tons of money. They know that. But as we've been experiencing, what can Beijing do anytime it wants? It can zap you. It can get rid of you. And that's basically the fault inherent, the futility inherent in all. Jack Ma found that out very fast. You can become incredibly successful on a platform you don't own. You can live very, very, very luxuriously in a home you don't own. In the end, the state owns everything. That's the structure. Now, again, they don't think of this as communism. They're recasting this as modern Confucianism, and the government, the state, is the primary mechanism ordained by heaven. This is known as the mandate of heaven in Confucianism, to be able to maintain social order at every level of society. So, and the Chinese worldview is very fascinating. They have a pentatonic 5-note scale system in their music, and every note is actually named after one class, one class designation from emperor down to pauper, as it were. So, and the idea is to bring that social order into alignment, and the state does that, and it does that by basically orchestrating the whole of life. And then what they were able to figure out, in the way the Soviet Union couldn't, is they were able to figure out how to get people enormous opportunities of wealth with that. So there is a free market element to it, and yet it's rooted in centralized control. Very good, Dave. And do you think the New York thugs want to seize Trump's assets in order to house illegals in his hotels at Trump Tower? That would be the most bizarre irony of it all. Yeah, I don't think they can. Trump Tower, I think, is condominiums and private residence. So I don't know. I don't know what they're just being bullies. They just smell blood. They think they're looking. They think that their social capital just went through the roof among the elite ruling class. They set themselves apart to do this. Letitia James and Goron, the freeze miser, and they're just trying to milk that for all it's worth, as I can see it, and try to humiliate Trump as well. Next. Sorry, Why doesn't this is Maryland? Why doesn't American Bar Association stop James and Goron? Well, again, I don't know. I don't know why there isn't more. I don't know why the higher ups in the appellate process or the judiciary hierarchy have not stepped in and stopped this. I don't get it. Because again, what they're doing, if they can do this to Trump, they can literally do this to anybody. That's the key. And so, and I mean, Governor Hochul had to run out and embarrass herself, saying, "Oh no, don't leave New York investors, don't this real estate investors. This is just having to do with Trump. That's it. This isn't having to do with anybody else." So she's admitting that the rule of law doesn't apply in New York. She's admitting that if the New York's political elite don't like you, they're going to persecute you. She's admitting that, but she's saying, "Oh, we only just don't like Trump." I mean, it's just so bizarre. I don't know why the Supreme Court hasn't stepped in and just shut this down and said no. Now they'll have a ruling on immunity. I believe it's going to be in June. So they're going to have, Jack Smith is stuck. He's going to have to wait till the summer of when they make an announcement. Hopefully, there's going to be enough there to more or less shut down this whole charade, or else our country's cooked. Because once Republicans start doing this, we're just a third world country now. This is what third world countries do. There has to be a certain level of immunity so you don't prosecute presidents after they've served. But alas. Thank you, Marilyn. Ivan the Terrible, Ivan. What are the odds of getting the truckers to boycott Washington? A wretched hive of scum and villainy, if there ever was one. Amen. Well said, Ivan. Good question. That would be wonderful, would it not? That would, just push the city into the Potomac, right? So I don't know what the odds are. We're just going to have to see. What started off was Ray got the ball rolling on Saturday or Sunday. And then, and basically said, we need to be doing this. We need to be boycotting New York. And then it was, and we could figure out how they're doing it too, because there are databases that do track the state of the supply chain and the flow of the supply chain into New York, so we could see that whether or not there's a depletion in the amount of trucks that are going in. And there was no reporting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but all of a sudden Thursday and today, late Wednesday, Thursday, and today, all of a sudden these truckers started posting, saying, "We're not going in, we're done." So we started getting some corroboration that's happening. So we'll see if they start turning their ire over to other cities, most particularly the Potomac. That would be neat. Hey, gang, we do have a quick update here from a very important and generous sponsor to this channel. Check it out.
Looking to get out of your job in this economy and maybe considered a business or franchise opportunity, but you were put off by the $1 million price tag? I could not recommend more. Tapping into the parallel economy with your own online e-commerce store business and gaining a life of freedom. My friend and fellow patriot Alex Alberon has a tremendous track record of building successful online businesses for Turley Talkers in our community, and I'm so grateful to have him sponsoring this video today. He's a member of Trump's International Golf Club. He's a close ally of President Trump's, and he's a multi-million-dollar online entrepreneur. He's the real deal. Alex offers an amazing program where he personally helps you launch your own online e-commerce store. So he'll help you with everything from selecting products, creating your store, marketing your products, much, much more. And all for a fraction of the cost to start a traditional business opportunity. Gang, seriously, stop dreaming. Turn your dreams into reality. Discover how you can apply your business ability and Alex's framework for online success to create a positive impact for you and your family. Book a free consultation with Alex to learn more by clicking on the link below or visiting yourecombusiness.com/Turley. Thanks, Alex.
I'm wearing the same shirt. I only have a few shirts. I don't have a lot of clothes. I literally wear the same thing all the time. I did that when I was teaching in the university, in the school. My students were all like, "Dr. Turley, you always wear the same tie, same clothes." I'm like, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" But anyway, yeah, Alex is the real deal. Josh, our moderator, is like, "Dude, you need a stylist." You're right, Josh. You're right. And if anyone knows, you do. You are a styling man, Josh. Josh knows how to look good. That's for sure. Yeah, Alex is amazing. Click on that link below, gang. Unstung Marketing. They are unbelievable in getting you plugged into the parallel economy. Absolutely. Get financial independence once for all. Don't lean on these woke companies. Go do your own thing. All right, what else do we got here, Josh? Styling Josh. David Beals, is there anything we can do as a group to help eliminate the several Chinese police stations in the U.S.? There is at least one in New York. I think 5 total. Yeah, they're probably most of them, I'm sure, are hiding out in blue areas because that's where you have post-American politics being practiced. So if anything, they invite stuff like that. It's a good question. I don't know. If you're in a red state, check in with your attorney general, check in with your representatives, state and federal representatives to see what's going on and what's being done about that. Hold them accountable to it because in the end, they're the ones who would be cracking down on it. But it is certainly very concerning. I know the reasoning they give is just very vague or it's just, Chinese have issues, expats have issues, and we just want to make sure that they get resolved in a way that they understand and comprehend. Yeah, right. We all know what it's being used for. Nathan, hashtag Texit. All right, Nathan, what do we got here? Question I see, Dr. Steve, the company I work for has recently created DEI committee, which in my mind means DEI policies are right around the corner. You think so there, Nathan? I started researching on how to combat this, but what I'm finding is that all the search results show the opposite and are all on how to get people who oppose DEI to comply. I found that disturbing. Any suggestions on how to best combat DEI in the workplace? Yeah, we've talked about that before. I mean, it's if you could find a good, solid conservative lawyer, a friend, someone through church or what have you. I mean, that's key. I mean, they can help you with that, and to help you navigate that. Try other different search engines as well. Have you tried Brave Search? Google's a mess. I mean, Google, whenever I do research on Google versus any other, I don't care what it is. I like Brave Search. I've done DuckDuckGo, or even if I do Bing, the Microsoft thing, even there, you will see how pathetically partisan Google is in how they structure search returns. They're always throwing up and overloading, front loading, left-wing woke crap. So yeah, definitely find a different search engine there, and you should be able to do some research. You could also try do some research on Twitter. I like doing that. So what would you do? DEI solutions, maybe. Well, that'll probably give you something. Think about. You have to be very persistent in what you put in for your search. DEI resistance, maybe that's better. DEI resistance, DEI lawsuit, right? Because again, I think you have the law on you have the Supreme Court on your side. Supreme Court ruled that colleges cannot discriminate based on DEI standards in admissions. And the ripple effect of that is, well, if colleges can't, then corporations can't either. All right, colleges are private institutions. So anyway, so I would do that. Just it's find somebody that you know who's in law who can answer that question, and then stay persistent in your searching. And I think you'll be surprised at the results you can find. Thanks, Nate. Sean, Dr. Steve, Donald Trump was right when he said they're not after him, they're after us. Yes, I saw that. That was excellent. The message clearly from New York is that if you are an average citizen, you disagree with us politically, we're going to come after you. How can anyone not look at the Democrat Party and see the Communist Party in the Soviet Union or the Nazis in Germany in the 1930s? Yeah, I mean, the technical term, and again, you even have otherwise liberal scholars like Joel Kotkin. I forget which California university he's at. He would call himself an old school Democrat. You have liberal scholars coming out and denouncing this as what it is. It's refeudalization. It is a form of caste-like governance where an oligarchy of billionaires and bureaucrats have decided that the rule by the consent of the governed can no longer be tolerated. And if you go to the WEF, if you go in Davos, or you listen to George Soros, their reasoning draws from the well of environmental apocalypticism. So they're seeing your free democratic choices as potentially detrimental to life on the planet, because you could put in someone like Trump or someone, who isn't all in on greenflation, right, and the greenification of human society, and that person isn't just implementing policies we disagree with. As far as these apocalyptic environmentalists are concerned, that person is threatening human life on the planet as we know it. So they've decided that they have to rule us. Now, they can't rule us blatantly, like, say, the CCP. They have to rule us subtly, and behind the scenes, tacitly, through the veneer of democracy. But as we're finding out more and more and more, is that, I mean, 2020 was just the tip of the iceberg of the way these guys manipulate elections all over the world. And so they believe they're the masters of the universe. They believe they should be in charge over our self-deceived sovereign choices. And so they're taking their place among the modernist, technocratic, totalitarian experiments of yore. And that's exactly what you just put forward there. So absolutely, they're right in line with the same I'm just going to flat out say it, the same demonic, satanic, tyrannical, technocratic experiments that have murdered untold numbers of people, and they're just right there with it. They're just taking their seat for the next one. Now, the good news is they will collapse just as the other two have. That's the good news. That's what's already happening. We're already seeing it. That's why they're becoming more tyrannical, and it's becoming more overt. I mean, just look at the legacy media today. I mean, they've gone beyond clownish at this point of how they are actively pushing partisan propaganda right now. I mean, the very fact that not every single day they don't demand Biden take can you imagine George W. Bush suffering from these kind of cognitive degeneracies? Can you imagine in 2006 what the media would be doing 24/7 with him? Or Ronald Reagan, for that matter. They were already doing it with Ronald Reagan. They were pushing him. Sam Donaldson, you're obviously too old. You're obviously too old. How's your mind? Have you taken a cognitive test yet, Mr. President? Well, what are the results? We want to see those results. I mean, it's just ludicrous. And now you have the legacy media saying, well, actually, memory loss is natural when you get older. It's Joe Biden's experience is what makes him special. I mean, seriously, Kim Jong-un would just wince, saying, no, stop, cut. No one's going to believe that. So, thanks, Sean. Chris, Dr. Steve, to me, it appears Nikki Haley is another way to attack President Trump. Yet draining resources, have him fighting on multiple fronts. Yes, your thoughts. Absolutely, Chris. You're spot on. The key to understanding Nikki Haley is she has nothing to do with the primaries. Nothing. She's all about trying to hurt Trump in the general. Exactly. Just like you said, draining resources from the general that he could be putting in, which is going to be one of the most expensive campaigns ever, like by far. Forcing him to fight on multiple fronts rather than just focus on trying. You're absolutely right. It's all part of the same political fare, lawfare, social fare against Trump. She is, for all practical purposes, a Democrat at this point. And the party, again, if the RNC had any actual leadership, she would have been basically excommunicated from the party by now. Every sanction that the RNC could inflict on her would have been inflicted. Scott, in the general, do you mean select here at the RNC convention in case the left parachutes in? Michelle, in the general, do you mean select here at the RNC convention in case the left parachutes in? Michelle Obama. I'm not sure I understand the question. She's trying to hurt Trump in the same way that Pelosi's trying to hurt Trump, or in the same way as our previous question just brilliantly pointed out, the way Engoron is trying, or Jack Smith is trying to hurt Trump. She's doing everything she can to push Democrat talking points. She's even brought up Trump's supposed dementia. I mean, this is insanity. She said, yeah, he's just cognitively not there. I mean, this is insanity. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. Again, it backfires so bad. Who's going to win that argument? My heavens. Who's going to, let's have another press conference, Joe. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. So she's pushing the same talking points. She's forcing Trump to have to spend money in a primary that he's already got locked up. And so she's keeping him in states he shouldn't even have to be in. He shouldn't be campaigning in South Carolina. He needs to be campaigning in Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Those are the states she's preventing that. She is doing the bidding of Democrats. Michelle Obama is irrelevant to this. Michelle Obama polls worse than Biden. That's the dirty little secret there. Biden's the best they got. And if that is not, if that is not an indictment on the Democratic Party, I don't know what is. Jules, good to see you. How's RFK Jr. doing in the Democrat polls? So again, it's still a bit ambiguous with RFK. Some polls show that he's taking significant support away from Biden. We're talking 3, 4, 5 points. So if it's Trump, Biden, 2-way, Trump up 3, you put in RFK, all of a sudden it's Trump up 7. It's a very, very, I mean, it could increase his margin by double. So, but there are areas like Iowa, right? Ohio, just deep blue collar regions where RFK is doing really well, and he may actually be hurting Trump. Now, again, Trump's margins are so big right now that it probably doesn't matter. And again, the key, what I'm hoping to play out is that Biden's implosion and Trump 2.0 are commensurately moving in contrary directions, so much so that Trump does start hitting that early double digit lead, 10, 11 points, 12 points, pretty consistently. We see the RCP average getting up around 5-6 point lead. And then he's going to get hit, guys. You're just going to have to prepare yourself. They're going to, Jack Smith, there's going to be freaking Alvin Bragg in New York. They're going to hit him. They're going to hit him hard. Some felonies going to convictions going to happen. The media is going to go into a feeding frenzy. It's already been pre-scripted, and he may take a hit in the polls. He may, if anything, it may backfire. That's what it's been doing so far. But he may take a hit. But if he's got a 10-point lead, it doesn't matter if it's RFK. It doesn't matter if it's Jack Smith. It doesn't matter if it's Alvin Bragg. It doesn't matter. He's going to be able to withstand that. So he might go down 3 or 4 or 5 points, but he's still got a 6-point lead. That's pretty MAGA impressive. Thanks, Jules. Sean, would anyone expect any different from Nikki Haley? If you cheat on your spouse, you cheat and lie to the people, and you put in the office. She has no respect for her husband, and she has no respect for the American people. I could not agree with you more. She is as vile gets. And the idea that she was a viable Republican candidate shows you how sick the party is at the leadership top. And South Carolina, stop putting in all of these rhinos. For heaven's sakes, clean up your freaking Republican Party. Drives me crazy. Scott, so does the DNC, who replaces Brandon? Yeah, I gotcha. They don't have anyone. Bottom line, they don't have anyone. They don't have anyone that's polling better than Brandon. I mean, the obvious one is going to be Gavin Newsom. I guess at that point, they're thinking, okay, how do we minimize the damage? Remember, it's all right, we don't win, but this is what they did with Bernie. Why they tried to keep, this is before they believed, I think, they could steal the election in 2020, but I think they wanted to do Biden because they believed he would minimize the damage. Bernie, it would be a Trump landslide, down ticket, blowout with all the Republicans winning in Senate and Congress. I don't know about that, by the way. Again, I think populism's a little too strong and powerful, even on the left, for that. So I think they're in the same position right now. They're trying to figure out what shenanigans to pull, but in the midst of that, they're saying, okay, but then now we got to think who's the candidate that's going to cause us the least amount of damage. Obviously, that's not Kamala. So it would most likely be someone like Gavin Newsom. I don't see Michelle. I don't see Michelle running at this point. I just don't see any moves for that. Thanks, Scott. Steve, since the left operates with an oppressor frame of reference, shouldn't they start supporting Trump sooner than later? Yeah, I love it. Well, so the oppressed oppressor doesn't go away. It just gets inverted. It's a it's the contradiction of repressive tolerance, is what Herbert Marcuse called it in the 1960s. I'm gonna let that hit you. Repressive tolerance, right? So you tolerate all so-called minority identities, and you repress all conservative ones, so-called majority, ethnic, racial, cultural majority, gender majority in terms of who has power, for the purpose of inverting them, for the purpose of putting those who don't have power into the position of power, and those who have power out of the position of power. Now they become the oppressed, and they love it, and they believe in it. And the more you could stick your boot on their necks, the more you prove how much you've won. So they're only on the side of certain oppressed. Their whole goal is to become the oppressor. That's what makes them so vile and disgusting. Roger, why did Pelosi command her Capitol cops to escort Shaman Dude into the Senate chamber on the very day the election results were to be certified? I think you know the answer to that, Roger. It's so they could get rid of Trump. This whole thing was scripted. It's becoming more and more obvious every day that passes. The whole thing was choreographed by Pelosi, by the powers that be in general. I think even to a certain extent, establishment Republicans, and that's why they're not doing anything about it. In the end, they fire off nasty tweets, and they get on Sean Hannity and go, wah, 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 but they don't do anything. They don't do anything. That's all part of scripted virtual politics out there. This was supposed to get rid of Trump. That's what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to seal his fate as an insurrectionist who can never, ever come back into office again. They didn't just want to vote Trump out. They wanted him gone. They wanted him gone. And that's what J6 was all about. And it didn't work. That's the beauty of it. Joan, what were Will Cain and Matt Taibbi talking about when they were discussing a leaked document that named Podesta, Bill Kristol, Michael Steele as co-conspirators in a coup planning that started in 2020? Oh my now. If the only name that is coming to mind that I remember reading about was Bill Kristol, but that's about a year ago when Mike Taibbi came out there. Oh my, I have to go way back in the filing cabinet with that. It had to do originally with trying to shut down social media accounts that they claimed had connections with Russian agitators, online disinformation spreaders, and they. This is when Twitter was owned, obviously, by Jack Dorsey, and if I remember correctly, they were feeding them all of these names and accounts of people to censor or just cancel and get rid of. And but then it turns out that, and they set up this organization to do it. And it was like some nebulous, Institute for disinformation, solutions or something like that. And so they would throw these names out, and then when Elon Musk took over Twitter or something akin to that, they were able to dive into their database that they had available, that they shared with Twitter, and there was nothing there. It was basically all made up. It was all lies, if I recall. It was something akin to that. But again, what it is it's a Politburo, in effect. It's a ruling elite. And Bill Kristol is one of the most evil men, I think, that's ever walked the earth at this point. I mean, this is a very vile person. People like him believe they should rule you. And if you don't comply, then they try to destroy you. And that's basically what they're doing. And they do it by, in effect, ostracizing you from modern day social media utilities. It's insane. Sean, if the trucker boycott in New York succeeds in shutting down this ridiculous attack against Trump, do you think that would work on a nationwide basis? If somehow the Democrats once again steal 2024? If states like Georgia and Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin have irregularities again, if they shut down works in New York City, do you think shutting down the state capitals would work to keep them from getting away with another steal? It's a good question. I don't know the extent to which it would stop a steal. But I showed you that map, right? That map says it all. Every single blue blotch is surrounded by a sea of red. So this is even the important point here, Sean, and I think you know this. Red states and blue states are relevant at that point. I mean, if the proverbial dung hits the fan, it's not red states and blue states anymore. It's red counties versus blue counties. Right? All of a sudden, the majority of New Jersey becomes MAGA. Right? All of a sudden, the majority of landmass of Illinois becomes MAGA. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking now. All of a sudden, the dynamics change if the people rise up, because now it's no longer state senators or representatives or politicians that are kind of organizing this. It's no longer a state organized structure. Now it's massive MAGA America versus these blue blotches. And, it's been pointed out in the analysis that I've read and the potential reignited civil war. God forbid that happens. We don't want anything remotely like that. But were that to happen, I mean, not only does MAGA have all the commodity advantage, not only do they have the Second Amendment advantage, but they just have geographic advantage, ridiculously so. I mean, you can easily target. This is the problem with the left and how vulnerable they are. You can easily geographically target the left. They're in the cosmopolitan centers. Where how do you target MAGA? I mean, outside of beating up on Trump, how do you target MAGA? What do you do? I mean, it's just so it's 3,000 miles wide. What do you do with it? So that's the problem they're running into. And I would love to see MAGA patriots just learn how they can exploit that clear geographical advantage that they have a bit more. Eugene, how does culture get abandoned within the network society? I don't think culture gets abandoned, depending what you mean. I think woke culture can be largely abandoned if woke culture is part of mass society and it's coming primarily through urban structures, metropolitan, cosmopolitan, elite, liberal structures. As those structures continue to unravel or simply unravel in terms of the organizing force that they had in our overall national society, then wokeness has a harder time. The culture of wokeness has a harder time imposing itself on the rest of us. But generally what the network society does is it actually creates new culture. It creates new community, digital culture, digital community. Can be very bad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, no question about that. Our kids on TikTok and all that. But it can also be very, very good, like what we're doing right now. So in a sense, it's I don't want to say it's neutral because I don't think anything's neutral, but it's a mixed bag. And what it's done is it's respatialized our society. So it's no longer, as it were, horizontal. It's no longer just sort of a map of places, but now it's very vertical in that we live on the cloud. And what it's doing is it's like in our Insiders Club, it's creating mass communities, basically digital nations, who are mobilizing, who are sharing information, who are networking, we're fellowshipping, totally irrespective of our proximity to one another, and therefore it could be international, it could be all over the world. And with dubbing techniques now, we can even we're literally probably just a year away, not even, being able to talk to each other, even if we don't speak to each other's language, with 98-99% on the spot translation accuracy, so we can literally talk to one another across internationally. Obviously, we were suffering from mass society, a loss of culture in terms of rural areas, in terms of traditional cultural structures. But that had a lot to do with liberalism and the way liberalism was being superimposed on us from above by our ruling elite to just make us permanent consumers. Liberalism does not like the intermediary structures of family, church, community that get in the way of consumption, or consumerism, probably better. So traditional culture has been hit hard over the last 100 years. And what we're most likely seeing through the process of retraditionalization that's going on right now, nationalism and civilizational populism, is a return to culture, custom, and tradition. At the same time, our technologies, like the network society, continue to thrive. So it's very similar to what Guillaume Fay referred to as archaeofuturism. That's sort of the idea. Like in Star Wars, where tradition and technology come together and form a powerful and strong society. But with the network society, that society is not just going to be horizontally mapped out, it's also going to be vertically mapped out with the cloud and with digital networks. Awesome question, Eugene. Thomas, is the legacy media trying to make Julian Assange Trump's Achilles heel? I don't know. That's you may be right, Thomas. I haven't caught that though. Again, the legacy media is a propaganda media. I would call them the Kim Jong-un media, but that's an insult to Kim Jong-un. In many respects, I would say the media is far more free in Russia. Yeah, I'll be that bombastic. They're more free in Russia than they are in the United States. There is nothing free about a media that is enslaved to an ideology. The ideology of wokeness, the ideology of refeudalization, and the structure of refeudalization. So, yeah, so their shameless coverage of shameful coverage of Julian Assange, maybe, but I think most Americans are 100% behind Julian Assange, at least the way they understand it. And Tucker has been brilliant. Thank God for Tucker, who's been very, very good on that. And Tucker's even admitted he's changed his opinion on Julian Assange. Originally he had the Newt Gingrich, national security agency kind of attitude. So, why would we parrot NSA talking points when they're always spying on us? Why would we do that? So anyway, I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to see. Scott, if Biden wins the Democratic primary, then besides. Don't know, Scott. Sorry. Don't know what the question means. Oh, there we go. If Biden wins the primary, then decides not to run. Thank you. I knew there was something there. I was trying to disseminate broken hieroglyphics. Then decides not to run for election. Who's the candidate for the Democrat? Would it be a runner-up or DNC appointed? It would be DNC. Why would you allow the people to decide? It'll be the DNC dictated, of course. They'll make you think, of course. Everybody 100% behind that. Saddam. So I'm assuming it's going to be Gavin Newsom at this point if they try to pull that off. That's what I'm assuming. Kamala, no way. I mean, now again, keep in mind it's not going to be clean. Kamala's people, they're going to pull out their daggers. They're going to want it. They're not going to give that power up that easily. And I don't know if Michelle's got people. We'll have to see, but I'm assuming it's going to be Gavin Newsom. Mark, could Congress replace the bar to force fairness in justices? That's a good question, Mark. I don't know the answer to that. To force fairness in the justice system. I don't know. We're going to probably have to do a special pop-up event to talk about this. I'm going to have to do some research on the latest on an anthropology and ethnography of legal systems and see what other nations have done. I mean, Nayib Bukele was talking about this. The amazing president of El Salvador, was talking about this at CPAC yesterday, how one of the reforms that he implemented was getting rid of crooked judges. And I just saw immediately everyone's started tweeting out, how do we do that here? It's a good question. I don't know what the mechanism is for kicking out crooked judges, but whatever they are, we need to be implementing them big time. Anita, there's so much talk about AI robots controlling people. Do you think the DNC will try to have a robot run against Trump? There doesn't seem to be anyone else that wants to accept Biden. Wow, Anita, that's neat. Pretty cool moral imagination there. I don't know. I've never even gave it a thought. To be run by an AI bot, I don't know. Not at this point. I don't think the technology's there yet. No, I don't think we have to worry. Eventually, you never know. Matt, do you think the Dems will lock up Trump in an effort for Nikki Haley to become the Republican nomination and win? I don't think Nikki Haley will win. Even if you got rid of Trump, I don't think I think there would be so much protest vote. It would tear the party apart. I'd cut my right arm off before I voted for Nikki Haley. She's a Democrat. She's a Democrat. She's doing the bidding of Democrat donors. Why on earth would I vote for her? So I don't think, I've heard different opinions on this. I don't think they can lock Trump up. Number one, I don't even know if we're going to have a trial before November. But I don't know if the Secret Service security protocols militate against the notion of locking Trump up. Does that mean home arrest or something? Perhaps, but he's not going to jail. I don't think you have to ever worry about that. Nita, have you heard that the judge overseeing the Atlanta case contributed? I did. Contributed Fannie Willis's campaign. And do you believe this will have any effect? We will see. We will see. I don't doubt anything coming out of our seedy political class, judicial class at this point. But I did see that, yes, apparently contributed to her campaign. I think he even worked for her at one point. I don't remember exactly. But again, yeah, they're just again, this is the problem when you're dealing with a political class, is they're all friends. They're all colleagues. They all work together. So they don't reform. Because for him to hold her accountable, then one of her buddies is going to hold him accountable. And so it's just, that's why they can do this to Trump, because he's an outsider. It's proof that he's the real deal. Azita, Dr. C, do you think the Georgia case would be dismissed? Well, let's put it this way. It ought to be. Numerous legal experts have stated so. One in particular said they don't even have to prove wrongdoing at this point. The very fact that they were having affairs is enough to violate Georgia's standard of legal ethics. So it should be, again, but we're living with a corrupt system right now. So anything can happen. We'll see. Franz, do you remember when I asked you a few weeks ago if you knew that one of our brother insiders owned 25 trucks and was participating in the truck convoy? His name is Jeffrey Bates, and he's boycotting New York City. Would you please put some respect on his name? Let's see. Everybody, Jeffrey Bates. How about a big thank you, Jeffrey, in the comments? So that is one of our own Insiders Club. He owns 25 trucks, as you heard, and he is participating in the convoy. Jeffrey, huge shout out to you, brother. You are the best. God bless you, man. God bless you. Everyone, put in a thank you, Jeffrey, and give him some encouragement in the comments. Thanks, Franz, for that. Jules, we all know that Newsom is related to Pelosi, right? Yeah, through marriage. Yeah, I know there is some connection. Gary, again, it's an oligarchy. It's very simple. They all go to the same universities. They go work at the same firms. They all get elected through the same advisor structures, same funding organizations and boards. They all sit on the same boards. They all live in relatively the same neighborhoods. It's an oligarchy that's taken over in our refeudalized society. And we're the peasants. And we're rising up. Jay, what is the chance of a last-minute switch from Biden to another candidate just before the election and the voting numbers on election day suddenly turn overnight again to steal the... Yeah, I mean, they're going to do everything they possibly can, Jay. The very fact that Republicans were caught so flat-footed in 2020, again, Ronna McDaniel, she took over in 2018, if I recall. That just says it all, okay? Democrats fight and we argue. Okay. Democrats plot and we lecture. We have got to fight and plot the way they do. That's what we've got to do. So now the good news is Laura Trump, Eric's wife, who's most likely going to be the vice chair of the RNC. She's already talking this way. She's already talking about what we're going to need to do in order to overwhelm any and all attempts at cheating. And they are. They're going to have to run war games constantly. And again, you center it on 5 states because you can't do it in Florida. They're too secure. Can't do it in Texas. Can't do it in North Carolina. Can't do it in Tennessee. They're all too secure. Who cares what happens in California and New York and Illinois? They're just going to do their idiot thing. They're all just blue, Colorado, whatever. So, but we got to focus on Nevada as well because it looks like we're going to win Nevada. Trump's up 10 in Nevada on the last poll with RFK and everybody else, Cornel West factored in. He's up 10 in freaking Nevada. I mean, that's crazy. So they're going to have to practice war games and talk to cybersecurity experts and election fraud experts. What can they do? What are they going to do? And how are we going to counter it? And how are we going to do it better? I'll just say that. How are we going to beat them at their own game? We'll leave it at that. Sean, so after Brain Dead Brandon's out of office, who else do the Democrats have going for in the future? They've gone so far left that there's no Democrat that can win a nomination election, from what I can see. What are your thoughts, Dr. Steve? I don't see a Democrat on the national stage that actually would have a chance of winning the presidency for at least a decade. I'm with you. I am with you. I think the country is beginning to really show serious signs of rebirth in red states, in about 27, 28 states, where the religious sacred underpinnings that are the foundation for any society, any sustainable social order. In order to have a sustainable, this is a key element to the study of civilization. But every civilization, as someone like Sam Huntington and his Clash of Civilizations thesis point out, every civilization is fundamentally religion. Religious structures ground the birth of civilization. There's whole kinds of reasons for that. It's rooted in something that Durkheim called the sacred, and the sacred is these rules, understandings, and goals considered absolute and unquestionable. And by definition, they provide the order that then enables every aspect of society to flourish as it's sanctified in relation to the sacred. There's a whole structure to it. But then in every society, there's also going to be a secular element to it. How do I eat? How do I stay warm? How do I build my house? How do I get a job? Material conditions, economic development, so forth. So there are going to be sacred elements to society that found it and keep the society going. And then there's going to be secular elements of society. And the idea is that the more vibrant the sacred, the more humane the sacred, the more human flourishing the sacred, the more the secular, ironically, can flourish. The better our material conditions, our economic growth, our career opportunities, education opportunities, blah, blah, blah. But what can happen is that over time, we see this in the late Roman Republic. We see this at the end of Byzantium. We see this in Islamic civilizations. We see this in Chinese civilization. What can happen is the secular can start overwhelming the sacred. And it could start burying the sacred under layers and layers and layers of secular concern. And that's where you start to see massive corruption, even among sacred institutions and all this sort of stuff. And then what happens is it starts to, over time, implode. This is how every society and civilization works. It, over time, begins to implode. It becomes rot. And that rot ends up becoming, what's a good word for it? Compost, under which the sacred underpinnings start growing and flourishing again. So even in Vedic mind, you have the Kali Yuga, this is the Hindu notion of the Kali Yuga of an age in unrighteousness, eventually always gets supplanted and replaced by Sat Yuga. Sat Yuga is the age of righteousness and wisdom and virtue returning, which is, again, the underpinning and the foundation for all human civilization. The key is it never disappears. That's the key. No matter how bad things get, even in the Soviet Union, their orthodox foundations never disappeared. They're always there. Sometimes they have to go into the catacombs for a while, but they eventually always blossom again. That's what's happening today. That's why Rob Reiner is so freaked out about Christian nationalism. There's a reason why they're talking about Christian nationalism today, because Christianity is flourishing again, particularly demographically. It's flourishing again. Don't pay any attention to Pew Research. Oh, we're getting more secular, more nuns, more NONES, more nuns. No, secularists are shrinking. It's the Christian conservatives that are growing and growing by leaps and bounds. And now they're starting to restructure politics. That's what's happening. So I'm with you. I think the whole demographic order is shifting away from the Democrats, and they're going the way of the Jurassic era. The question is just simply how long can they prolong their presence? That's bottom line, and we'll see. But no, I don't see anybody. I think Newsom is their best, and that's not saying much. So thanks, Sean. Scott, to clarify, I was suggesting the RNC might be hedging. Polls aside, the RNC is apparently worried about Obama jumping in when the DNC throws a Brandon under the bus, which is already underway. After all, Trump is polling well with blacks. True. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I just don't think there's any. They could try all these antics. It just proves that we're being ruled rather than represented. They can try all these antics. In the end, I don't think they understand the civilizational populism that's animating the Trump campaign. It's the same thing we're seeing in El Salvador, where Nayib Bukele, who just won re-election with 85% of the vote. It's the same thing we're just seeing with Jair Bolsonaro. Well, we did. He almost beat the most popular politician in Brazil's history by 1 point. Wonder what was going on there. With Javier Milei in Argentina. Now they're what aren't they? Didn't they just post their first state surplus in like 40 years or something like that, just with a couple of months in office? So what's going on with Viktor Orban and Marine Le Pen and Giorgia Meloni and the Sweden Democrats and Vox in Spain, so forth, all throughout. And keep your eye on the Austrian Freedom Party. That's your so-called far-right Austrian party. Looks like they're going to win their election in a blowout coming out in the next couple of months. So anyway, it's the same movement that we're seeing all over the world. Narendra Modi in India, Erdogan and Turkey just keeps winning in blowout elections. It's why Mohammed bin Salman is so popular in Saudi Arabia and of course Putin, 80% approval rating in Russia. Same thing. Civilizational populism can't. All these idiot advisors and connivers aren't going to be able to do anything to stop it. It's too big. Joan, where can we find that red-blue map to save it? Maybe savor it is a better word. I like that word. Let me see if I have. Hey, Josh, while I'm answering these other questions, can you go into the, I don't even remember which cut it was, but, go find those two maps, 2008 map and 2018 map. I think it was from, I can't remember which institute. If you can find it, can you put it up? Look at that. There you go. And let's see. The current Democrat majority is farming. This is, who was it again? I can't remember who did the report. Josh, if you could stick the URL in the chat for me, I'll read it back for Joan so she can check it out. It is a neat map, and it's going to get even redder as we go along in 2024 and 2028. It's going to get even redder again because we're having kids and they're not when all is said and done. Now I know. I'm on the southern border. I know. That is complicating things, but that's it. Okay, yeah, Brookings Institute. That's it. Paula or Joan, sorry. It is go to the just look up Brookings, Brookings, and then put in America has two economies. That should give it to you. America has two economies, and then you'll see it. It's a very, very interesting study. Very interesting study. So there you go, Joe. Terry, the New York Times has a piece saying Democrat leaders are telling their rank and file not to cross over to the Republican South Carolina primary. Interesting. But to vote for Biden all the way instead. Have you heard about this? And what does that say about Democrats? What the Democrats are thinking? Yeah, no, I don't think they know what to do right now. I think, honestly, I think they're at wit's end. I don't think they know what that train wreck of a press conference said to me what was that, 2 weeks ago? That said to me, they honestly don't know what to do. They're at wit's end. They're throwing anything at the wall to see if it sticks. Let's have Joe go out there. Good old kind, sweet old Joe. He starts talking and the media will be kind of nice to him. My heavens. I mean, it was a disaster. They don't know. Nothing's working. The lawfare isn't working. It's blowing back. It's bad. It's a backlash. And Goron recent decision isn't working. Nikki Haley isn't working. polling alternatives like Gavin Newsom isn't working. They just don't know. They literally have no idea what to do. So I'm assuming they're starting to get into a posture of let's minimize the damage. Maybe we can still pull this off. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But we have to brace for impact and make sure we minimize the casualties of 2024. I honestly think that's where they're going at this point. Jules, I have a lawyer friend that could come on. I need to get you these names. Yeah. Are you talking about what, DEI? I'm forgetting what the context would be, or getting rid of these creepy judges. Let us know, Jules. Just let us know in the Insiders Club platform, and we'll follow up. Dave, what are the chances of getting Robert Barnes as a guest? Oh, I'd love to get Robert. I have not reached out, and I will at some point. It's just a matter of time. I drop Robert's name. Whenever I'm talking law, since I'm not a lawyer, whenever I'm talking law, there are three, I should say, that I constantly drop. Alan Dershowitz, my namesake, Jonathan Turley, and of course, the great Robert Barnes. So I'll have to have him on soon. That'd be great to have. I'd love to chat with him. Franz, would it be fair to say that cultural Marxism is a symptom of Darwinism? Well, yeah, it's modern. They're both modern. And the key with modernity is that it's the Hegelian hope. It's the notion that human reason can exhaust reality, that everything we know to be real and factual, even the notion of a fact itself is a 19th century way of speaking about reality. Everything we know is exhausted by reason. And so that gave birth to a 19th century triumvirate of kind of a new sort of trinity of redefining reality. So Marx redefined politics, Freud redefined the human person, and Darwin redefined creation, the created order. So he defined it from creation to nature, and that nature is an autonomous mechanism that operates by its own laws, deterministic laws, of which we have very little impact. And Marx argued the same thing with economic laws and cause and effect. So, and then cultural Marxism, I don't know if they have, to be honest with you, I haven't noticed cultural Marxists having the same deterministic outlook as economic Marxists did. Because economic Marxists prided themselves in the notion of it doesn't matter what you do. The world is moving toward a single class of communistic utopia. I mean, that's where the world is going, whether you like it or not. That's what gave birth to Leninism. Leninism said, well, if dialectical materialism is happening, regardless of whether we support it or not, well, then let's just launch revolutions. Let's just make it out. Let's bring the future forward into time and realize it now. Why wait? I didn't see cultural Marxists that way. Cultural Marxists don't believe in a dialectical materialism. They know that without revolution, it ain't happening. So that's an interesting demurral from Marx's original thought, but it's still rooted in a modernist conception of the world, amputated from classical traditional conception of life and religious conception of life, unless you are one of the blessed sanctified minorities where you're allowed to go back to paganism or whatever it is that your original indigenous religion was. Then they're all for that kind of retraditionalization. But they are Darwinists in the sense that they are modern, and they come out of this modernist tradition. Angel, in advance of the elections this year, this regime has compiled an anti-militia bill, right? That they would hope will detooth, I like that, detooth or decaffeinate, right? Any opposition. Do they think we will comply? Well, there you go, Angel. I think you're Angel. I think you're absolutely. Yeah. Again. Yeah. Let's. I'll never forget when I was at in Brazil back in 2018, when Jair Bolsonaro was first running, and everybody was talking about him. I was speaking at a homeschool conference, and this was the time that the Supreme Court of Brazil, which has a lot of power in Brazil, much more power than even our Supreme Court has. They were taking up the issue of whether or not homeschooling was going to be allowed in Brazil. And I was asked, by a number of wonderful parents that I met at this conference. It was a classical education conference. Please pray for us because this is a big deal. The two things I kept hearing were, about the Supreme Court case about homeschooling coming up, and these are all homeschooling parents, and Jair Bolsonaro, and we finally have somebody we can vote for. And I said, what are you going to do if the Supreme Court rules that homeschooling is illegal? And they just smiled and said, oh, we'll just keep doing it. They sound, our Supreme Court does that all the time. Whether they can enforce it or not, it's a whole different question. There's too many of us. And I think patriot militias are starting to say that. There's too many of us. Remember, patriot militias have skyrocketed to over 500. And that's, again, that's just the ones who scholars know about, to over 500 since 2008. I mean, there used to be just a handful of them back in the 1990s. Now it's huge. So no, I'm with you. I don't think you have to worry about that. Dan, what will the balance of the Senate look like after the 2024 election? Oh, depends what day you ask me, Dan. At this point, Republicans should take it. Despite Republicans, right? Why vote for the party of McConnell? Think about what's going to be your slogan. Make Mitch McConnell leader again. Yeah. But it looks like they'll do it. Larry Hogan is running away with it in Maryland. Now he'll be a pain in the ass the whole time. He'll just be Mitt Romney part 2. I mean, but he does give us the committees. He does give us control of what legislation comes up and all that sort of stuff. So it is strategically important. So nobody thought we'd win Maryland, but it looks like we're going to win Maryland, which is good. If Kyrsten Sinema doesn't run, it looks like Kerry's got a real challenge. For some reason, this Democrat is doing well in the polls, so we'll have to see there. But bottom line is Democrats have to defend, I think, 2-1 or 3-1 seats as Republicans. It's the exact opposite of what we had. It's the exact situation we had in 2022. We had to defend, I think, 2 seats for every Democrat's 1 seat. And so chances are they're going to lose a few, especially if it's a down the ticket blowout with Trump. They're going to lose a few. Teston and Montana is another one that everyone's taking a look at. He's probably the weakest of them all. So we should be able, and of course, we're already guaranteed to gain 1 in West Virginia. So we should do it. We should hold on to all of the seats, and then we should pick up just 1 or 2 more, and then we're in the majority again. So we should do it. But boy, if anyone ever snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory, it's always been establishment Rhino Republicans. They are the biggest clowns on the planet. Mark, have you heard about the neocons replacing the leader of Michigan's GOP? Yeah. Christina Karamo was replaced with Peter Hoekstra, and Trump supported it. Worrying. Yes, I know. I don't. Again, I think Trump, this drives me crazy because this is part of the messiness of politics. Dude, if you want to see how messy politics are, just watch Braveheart sometime, right? I mean, politics is messy. So I think Trump is smart, believe it or not, in trying to appease the powers that be in Michigan, the Republican powers that be that are Rhino, just like they are in Pennsylvania. They're disgustingly Rhino in Pennsylvania. I've seen it firsthand. They're snakes, disgusting. But I mean, they vote Democrat, and that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to prevent, as I understand, this is my assessment. He's trying to prevent the Rhino majority in Michigan to go against him. So he does have to play some Rhino politics. What I'm hoping is he plays it at the state level so as to guarantee that the Rhino Republicans play along, but he crushes it at the federal level because it's a state level. Let Michigan do whatever Michigan's going to do, Let Michiganders decide that. But get on board with the Trump train. That's number one. Do what you got to do to get them on board with the Trump train. Same with Pennsylvania Republicans. Get on board. Let's win Michigan and Pennsylvania. Then it's a blowout night. It's over. He just wins either one of those states. And then let's just crush rhinos at the federal level as best we can. I don't worry about it congressionally because just Congress is just in paralysis. But I do worry about it, obviously, in the executive branch, in the military, and in the three-letter agencies. That's where Trump has got to go full animal. Thanks, Mark. Dave, what do you think of Kristi Noem as VP? I mean, okay. I haven't assessed the extent to which the establishment is afraid of her. I get the sense they're not. I get the sense they're not very afraid of her. So I'm not that attracted to it. But I like Kristi Noem. I do. But I do get the sense that she's a little too liked by the powers that be. And he's got to find a VP that absolutely scares the hell out of the establishment. Mark, could Christianity be getting more secular regarding judges, failures of Israel, drifting away from God while thinking they were following God closely as a model for all God-fearers today? Yeah, so no, the book of Judges is a good example of this sort of revival peak recession kind of pattern, revival peak recession. So yeah, no, I think in many ways secularism is Christianity. Secularism is a modern, liberal, hollowed out, decaffeinated Christianity. It replaced the Garden of Eden with Darwin, right? It replaced the church with the state. It replaced redemption with liberalism. And it replaced the kingdom of God with a secular utopia, futuristic utopia. So I do think it is basically hollowed out Christianity. So we're already there in many ways. And that's what liberal Christianity is. It's just a secular Christianity. Good news is it's falling apart because it can't survive because it doesn't have the sacred. It doesn't have the presence of divine life, a divine spark to keep it animating and growing. So it eventually dies, it rots out, becomes compost. And because the sacred Christian seeds that were there behind every Western civilizational experiment, the Christian seeds that are the foundation of that never disappeared. They're always there. Now they start budding again. That's, to me, the key of constant renewal. So life is cyclical, but it's cyclical move. I don't take cyclical and linear versions of history as antitheses. They could be, but in a Christian sense, there is a constant movement, 7 days a week, 365, right? The earth moving around the sun kind of stuff. But we're going somewhere. That cyclical movement is taking us somewhere. So it's very similar to a song, right? A song a song on the radio, I think, is often very attractive to us because it is life encapsulated in 4 minutes. Because it's right, it's intro, verse, chorus, little coda, chorus, end. So it's cyclical, verse, chorus, chorus, but it's going somewhere. And every part of the song you feel like you're moving, you're not stuck. You're advancing to somewhere else. So anyway, that's what I could go on and on with that, Mark. You got it. We'll do that sometime. We'll have to have a meetup and talking to the wee hours. And Azita, I thought that was it. Azita, I listened to David Sipso X22. I do not know David. Forgive me, and that's my fault. And believes we will have a cyber attack to postpone the 2024 election. We'll see. We'll see. We have a lot of Nostradamuses out there. I don't know, Azita. I don't have any. I don't have. That's not the circles I run in. So. Bill, I want to go on the cruise. I need a single ticket. Yeah, you can get a single ticket. You can absolutely get a single ticket. So just check in. Hey, Josh, is there a way that you can give us the information that Bill would need to go on the cruise. Just give us a URL. Bill, I will announce that URL shortly. Josh is getting it for us right now. And love to see. Oh, here we go. Just go to cruise.turleytalks.com/cruise. There you go. cruise.turleytalks.com/cruise. And get booked. It'll be awesome to hang out with you. Speaking to the wee hours of the night. We're going to be that cruise, gang. If you haven't signed up for it, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I should say if we have cabins left, I should say that I could imagine we could always grab a couple of extra cabins, but yeah, that's going to be fun. I mean, we're going to have some real enriching deep dives, literally, right? Conversations on that cruise in the Mediterranean, hanging out in Spain, France, and Italy. It'll be awesome. Be great to chat with you guys. Cruise.turleytalks.com/cruise. Anita, do you think that Trump will lean towards a VP that has a military background? Ooh. Are you talking about someone like a General Flynn? That would be you want to talk about somebody who would be even more feared than Trump. Although it seems to be Flynn. I could see Flynn taking over the military. I could see Michael Flynn having a huge role in crushing the DC establishment. It'd be a good question. I don't know. We'll have to see. Of the 5 that they were mentioning, I don't think there were any ones on there that had any. Can't recall anyone having a major military background though. But that would be neat. Somebody who's got to unwoke the military. That's got to be huge. That's got to be done and done fast for our own national security's sake. Angel, has anyone heard that the people of Iran are turning more toward Christianity? Yeah. We've done a video on that, but it's been a couple of years. They are eschewing Islam due to the rampant tyranny against the citizenry and are saying that religious leaders are false prophets. Yeah, that's neat. It's very interesting, especially from the Shiite tradition, which is unique. It has a different call to prayer, the azan, than the Sunni version. Yeah, apparently so. That's word on the street is that Christianity is doing very, very well right now in Iran. As I understand, especially coming to people in dreams. Dreams mean a lot in the Islamic imagination, and Christ is appearing to many people apparently in dreams, many Muslims, and converting them. They already start off with a very, very, very sacred high view of Christ. That they see Jesus as the Messiah. They see him coming again, returning. They believe in the virgin birth. Now they don't see him as God. They don't believe in the full-fledged Christian, Trinitarian outworking of the redemption of the whole of humanity in and through the incarnation of Christ, where God literally touches and revivifies human nature through becoming man in the incarnation. They don't go there, but they do have a very high reverent view of Christ. Bill, if you could not have Donald J. Trump as MAGA president, who'd you pick for MAGA? Yeah, I believe that is the question. That's a very good question. Oh, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes to mind, Matt Gaetz, Carrie Lake. Again, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've got my concerns with him, but even RFK Jr. does fit into this dissident, civilizationalist, populist mold, as it were. That could be very, very good. I see Don Trump Jr. as definitely someone in the running in the next couple of election cycles because he's just so. I mean, he fights. Tucker is astonishing. There's a bunch. J.D. Vance, definitely J.D. Vance of Ohio. Love J.D. Vance. So there's a bunch. And that's it. I love you guys. It's been a good week, a very eventful week. Let's keep praying for our trucker brothers, our MAGA brothers out there. And let's pray for each other. I love you all. If you haven't joined our Insiders Club, make sure to click on that link below and join. We get to chat just like this live twice a week. You're going to love it, and you're going to love fellowshipping with your fellow patriots, and you're going to love a special insight on how to build the parallel economy. So make sure you click on that link below and join. Love you guys. God bless.